Melinda is suddenly interrupted by Flower, who just opened the door leading outside the room, let out a loud gasp while covering her mouth with her hands. What happened? Kate asked as we all rushed towards her. Is it Royal Guards? No, it's not Royal Guards. Flower says in a shaky voice as she tries to control her body from trembling. It's when we reach the door, we take a look inside the room, next room. We immediately understand why Flower was having such a hard time finding her words. Is the king or something? What we are looking at right now is a large hall filled with hundreds of young men and boys dressed in. Oh, is these people? I think. Are these the mages that they were kidnapping or something? What we're looking at right now is a large hall filled with hundreds of men and young boys dressed in dirty rags who are hanging from the ceiling by long iron chains that are tied to their wrists while their feet are barely touching the ground. All of them have such pale skin, such light looks in their eyes that it's honestly a wonder they are still alive. As we all enter the hall, I realize that the ceiling from which the chains are hanging is in fact made of metal, and the metal ceiling is actually part of a large structure that covers the entire room. The structure is all tied to a metal container in the middle of the hall, which simply radiates magical energy. After studying the whole room for a few more seconds, I finally realize what's going on here. I get a strong sudden feeling of wanting to vomit. Those chains are not just here to hold the prisoners in place. I can sense magical energy traveling through them and sending it towards the metal container through the ceiling. The whole room was built with the sole purpose of extracting as much magical energy as possible from these people, to the point where it barely leaves them as these empty husks who barely even have enough strength left to breathe. Many of these men and boys none of these men and boys are reacting in any way as we are advancing through the room, looking as if they're barely even aware of their surroundings anymore. However, every once in a while, some of the people in the hall seems to be waking up at random to scream in pain for a few seconds, only to return to the nearly lifeless states once again after they're done. Towards the center of the room, there are some tables made out of metal on which a few other people are lying on their backs, who seem to be somewhat more alive than the people hanging from the ceilings, although not by much. These men also have chains tied to the wrist, but in their case, the chains are directly linked directly to the metal container, not to the ceiling. As you're approaching, the Melinda stops to look at one of the chains that are holding the prisoners suspending from the ceiling. These chains, Melinda says, something about them feels familiar. While Melinda is still looking at the chains, one of the prisoners on the metal table calls out to you in a feeble voice, "Who are you?" And the man says, "I've never seen you here before. Are you the new cleaners?" "No," I say, as I get closer to him. "We don't work here. We stumbled into this place by accident." You're not with them?" The man says, "Please, you have to help me. These people who trapped us here, they're using us like cattle, milking us dry of our energy to feed this machine. My boy and I, we did nothing wrong. We were just taken from our homes one night without giving any reason. I don't even know where they took him. I don't know if anything happened to my wife and daughter after that. Please, I need to know if they're safe. I need to get out of here." "Did this happen recently?" I ask him. "Is your daughter's name Alice by any chance?" "Yes," the man shouts, almost excited. "That's her name. You've met her? Is she safe?" "She's safe for now," I say. "She's been looking for you. You have to take me out of here." The man says, "Please, you need to cut off these chains. Set me free, I beg you." Kate and Layla and I exchange a look. Then I walk forward in order to get closer to the chains that are tied to the man's wrist. The chains don't look very strong. I'm pretty confident that my enchanted dagger should be able to slice through these as though butter. I take my dagger out of my sheath. I hold it in my hand for a few seconds, considering my options, while the screams of a young boy echoes faintly in the distance. Cut the chains with my dagger and free Alice's father. Don't cut the chains. Leave Alice's father on the metal table. I feel like this was going to set off a trap, though. But if we don't set him free, he's just going to start screaming like, "Hey, open this." They were cleaners coming, and it's going to be like, "Oh, there are people in here who are not cleaners." So I think the less risky option, it's still a risky option, but less risky option is still to cut him free, unfortunately. "Okay, Barry, wait, don't do it," Melinda shouts suddenly in a panic tone just as my blade slices through the chains. Her warning came too late, as there was simply no time for me to stop the slash of my dagger. As soon as the chains are cut, Alice's father begins to have violent seizures, making his body shake uncontrollably for 5 seconds. Immediately afterwards, his body stops moving completely, but so does his breathing, while his aura begins to slowly fade away. After a few seconds of simply staring in shock at the dead man in front of me, I finally managed to muster enough strength to speak. What happened?" I asked Melinda in a weak voice. "I don't understand." The metal that these chains are made out of is special, Melinda says as she slowly approaches the table, then grabs one of the chains in her hand. If it stays in contact with the person for too long, it forms a symbiotic relationship with them. You can't just remove it by force, because it would be same as if you were removing one of their vital organs. I'm sorry that I didn't realize this sooner. But there's a way to reverse this, right? I ask her helplessly, even though I already know the answer she's going to give me. Way to attach the chains to bring the man back to life? I'm afraid not, Melinda says. This metal seems to be heavily modified version of the old prototypes that Billy Boy used to play with the last time I was here, which is why it took me so long to recognize it, but the basic principle should be the same. Once you cut off the connection by the force, there's no way to undo the damage. The only way in which any of the people from this room are ever going to be free is if we were to find the control room and deactivate these chains from there. That is something. We just killed her father. That is something. Where was Alice's mother, by the way? I don't remember. What if we try to destroy the metal container, Layla writes. Would that not have the same effect as deactivating the chains? If we try to destroy that energy-filled container, it's going to cause an explosion large enough to kill every single person in this room, including us, Melinda says as she drops the chain from her hand. Like I said before, deactivating the chains from the control room is the only way to free the prisoners. Then we could try to reach that room quickly before any of the guards, Kate starts to say, but Melinda interrupts her. Absolutely no way of knowing where they might have placed the control room in this place, Melinda says, and given the importance of that room, it is no doubt going to be very heavily guarded. We're all weakened after that last fight. We don't even have all of our team members here with us, let alone any of the rebels except Brainan. What we should be focusing on right now is finding a way out. There is no time to be playing hero. No, I say as I frantically grab the severed chain with my severed chains and try to reattach them by hand. There has to be some kind of way to bring him back. I was only trying to save him. He couldn't have died just like that. How am I going to tell that little girl that I killed her father after she begged me to save him? To find some way to reverse. Before I get to finish my sentence, the metal container and all of the chains suddenly begin shining with bright blue light as the prisoners from the entire room start screaming in unison. Mercy, shouts one of the men hanging from the ceiling, who has been completely silent until now. Please have mercy, screams another. Mercy, please, I beg you. We hear another man scream from across the room. Eventually all the prisoners begin to shout the exact same words over and over, even though it's obviously futile. There's nobody else in this room who could hear them aside from us. After about half a minute of continuous screaming, the light from the chains and the prisoners finally fades away. The prisoners fall silent once more. Meanwhile, Flower is looking absolutely terrified. Kate is barely able to hold her composure. Virna seems like he's going to be sick. Layla looks as if she's having some beacon of hope flashback. Just as we thought everything was over, we hear the one voice that we wanted to hear the least right now, coming from somewhere a few dozen feet behind us. Did you enjoy the spectacle, Barry? Aiden says with a grave tone in his voice. I turn around quickly, but I don't see him anywhere. Of course, he's hiding invisibly without Araka. We never had a chance to detect him. He knows this. Has he just been standing here from the beginning? What's the matter? Aiden says with the same serious tone in his voice as before. Didn't you say that you were going to save every person in Varathia despite your lack of powers? Now, given you the opportunity, what are you waiting for? All of a sudden, Melinda gasped loudly as she points in the direction of Aiden's voice, even if we still can't see him. It was you, Melinda says loudly while she points at Aiden. You're the one who led us here from the underground tunnels. That's why your aura seems so familiar. You were just masking it so I couldn't recognize you from afar. What will happen first, I wonder? Aiden continues to address me while ignoring Melinda. Will your resolve eventually break when you finally understand that what exactly you've gotten yourself into? Will you be able to achieve the impossible like you've claimed, regardless of what happens? I hope you will continue to keep me entertained. Do not disappoint me. I can't believe it, Melinda says. He's ignoring me again. Well, this time he won't get away with it. She then generates a small explosion of air right next to where Aiden was standing invisibly, but all this managed to accomplish is to slightly rock back and forth a few of the prisoners that were hanging from the ceilings in the vicinity without having any visible effects on Aiden himself. Damn it, Melinda says. He's already gone. Yeah, he's probably just teleported here to give his speech, and now he went back to watching us from afar. I say, I swear I'm going to pay him back for this once I figure out all those magical loopholes of his. Forget about Aiden, Kate says. We still don't know which way we need to go to find the exit or the control room. I say we should focus on finding the exit for the time being. We need to find the control room first. We can't just leave these people like this. I think we should focus on finding the exit first. so that we can tell the rebels that this is the place where they're holding it. That's stupid to just head first jump in.